Welcome to Absolutely PlayStation and Steam Gamers. My name is Benny, that is Dylan, and that guy is Shake. And today we are going to talk about the Avengers content roadmap that they have announced. I have been privy to go behind the scenes and speak to the developers about the roadmap. Sadly, it will not add much context to what we know publicly.
Nope. And they only let you know like a day before it goes public every day.
Yeah, they let me know. They put this out last Wednesday. And they called me in on Tuesday to tell me about it, and I asked a couple of questions, and I'll go over the questions that I asked. But yes, that is what's going on. So, Dylan, since you are our liaison to Avengers, as in you play the most,
Sure.
what's happening, buddy?
Absolutely nothing. So the roadmap, most of the roadmap consists of them recycling events, which are just mission chains that give you exotics. And also bonus XP weekends. Also, some really vague reworked systems. A Hawkeye nameplate challenge. Not a skin. A nameplate.
I love that it's the nameplate, too.
Yeah.
Not even like his skin. It'll probably get his skin from the show, but not apparently with the show.
Get a free emblem. Yeah,
Yep.
It sounds like a lot of this stuff is still more catch-up.
Which I'm very sad about, because my theory was that when Wakanda dropped, we're going to start finally getting content because they were just kind of stalling until Wakanda to fix
Right.
things. But as they said in the content creator review going over this, they were like, no, we're still just trying to do quality of life fixes.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that they've been pushing with this roadmap and since War for Wakanda is that they're focusing on quality of life, and they're laying the groundwork. They keep saying that they're like laying the groundwork for future updates. And like that's very evident in this roadmap, where really the only bits of new content here are the first raid, where it's going to be a conclusion to the Wakanda storyline, where you're going up against Claw and a new enemy type called Echoes, and then a new hero event for Spider-Man, who is still exclusive to PlayStation.
Yes, which was the other question I asked in the briefing. I specifically said, when Spider-Man drops, does that mean that that Xbox and PC are just going to be dry? We're going to have no content. And the only thing they said very vaguely was, no, we have things for them as well. Is it
Yeah, we're going to get a nameplate with Spider-Man on it.
Power level cap increase and new enemy types is what they have for PC
but it's
and Xbox,
not even
apparently.
the new enemy type. It's listed as a separate thing in the roadmap. It only exists in the raid. So they took Yes, they took the raid and they split it into like 3 different sections here, because the power level cap increase also comes with the raid.
Yes.
Hey guys, we have brand new mechanics in our encounters, exclusive to the one event that we have. I will say, though, it is interesting that they're calling this a raid versus calling it an Omega level threat. So I'm wondering...
I was going to bring that
different.
up.
Yeah.
So the raid is the first real raid, and it will not be an Omega level threat. It'll be the conclusion to the Wakandan storyline. It will have a casual mode, so you can just do story, plus the higher tier mode for exotics. They specifically laid all of this out, that this would have multiple options. It would not just... And that is their focus, quality of life and getting the raid. And sadly, it's taken them this much to give us a raid, but that's why it's taking up so much of the content. They want it. We don't have endgame in Avengers, and that's the biggest inherent problem with Avengers. You cap out, you get a couple exotics, and you go, okay. And that's the end of your Avengers run.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they really want to have this raid, because they feel it'll get the game in a good place. But the issue is, the only other thing we're getting is Spider-Man, which won't come out for anything else. You know what I mean?
And they keep making it clear that they don't really understand what players want, because it's like they do, but they don't fully get it. Like they just released a couple weeks ago brand new daily and weekly missions to get resources. And the resources you get are not like Polychoron, which is the resource everyone needs.
Yeah.
It's like fragments and units, which are useless. So
Right.
it's like, I don't know what they think we want, but it's not that. Like when I first heard that they were introducing daily and weekly missions specifically to get resources, I was like, oh great, I'll log on and I can finally get Polycoron faster so I can get all of my heroes up to 150 on that horrible grind. And no, it just doesn't help improve that at all. It's like, why?
Yeah.
What do you even? They're and they said, I think people asked them about that, and they're like, well, in the future, units will be more like important, and fragments you'll need more of them for stuff. And it's like, I get that, but like, why introduce that now then?
Right.
Yeah.
So introduce the Polycoron events now because that's what people need. I don't know. As a pro, at least they're acknowledging that they need a specific way to farm certain resources. But as a con, they need to be explained which resources the majority of the player base needs.
Right.
And sadly, the state that this game is in right now, and I love this game. I want to state that right now. The reason I even got invited to that briefing is because I still play it consistently. I enjoy this game and I talk about this game. But the way that they're doing the power level increase, the gear changing, the new zone, the changing how we earn resources, still getting our first raid, it almost feels like we're still in beta. Like this is the beta, and then they're going to release with everything once they figured out how they want it to run. The issue that I have with this is the returning events are just ones that we have had. Like, they're not even changing it up at all. We're just doing Cosmic Threat again, and Tac-Gan Anomaly again, a Red Room Takeover again, and Corrupted Vibranium again. And then bonus XP. And that's what we're doing for the rest of the year. That's it. We're going to get a raid, which we'll probably do in a night, and that's it. We're done.
Well, the pro is that it's for the rest of the year. This is only a 2021 roadmap. So perhaps we're going to see something early in 2022, January, February, something that's going to drop. And this content roadmap is basically just laying the foundation, like they said, so that when they introduce the new content, the systems are already in place.
Because they did say they're planning for things in 2022.
And they also said on the blog that came with this roadmap that there is more stuff coming in late winter that isn't on the roadmap. So
I think what they're trying to not do. Yeah, well, I think what they're trying to do is not overpromise anymore. Because that was their biggest problem up front, where they were, you know what I mean? Like, look at everything we're getting, you guys, and Kate will be out next week. And then, and none of that happened. And that,
Well, setting expectations appropriately is important, though. I mean, if we know that we're going to have a 3-month dry spell, that means, hey, go play your other games. Go get caught up in Final Fantasy XIV or any of the new games that'll be coming out at the end of this year. And then we know that early in 2022, we have stuff to come back to.
Yeah. I know, and I mean, I'm still going to stay in this game. I love it. Let's talk about real quick the Spider-Man thing. The fact that because I was really hoping that there was going to be 2 heroes, Spider-Man to PlayStation, and then the other hero for everything. They're not doing that, and everyone's still freaking out about Spider-Man. They have been for the last year. Honestly, my opinion is, look, we knew this going in. It's not cool. There's no way to make this cool. Sony paid the big bucks. We all get it. Just let this event go by. Stop complaining. Rip it off like a Band-Aid. Let's get it over with. Let's just get Spider-Man out and move on. Like
the most pressing thing I heard about all this is that somebody who went to one of the events you went to asked whether or not they were planning on introducing cross-save. Not even cross-play. I think it was Paul Tassi, and their response was, it's not in the development pipeline. How is it not even in the pipeline at this point?
Like that does irritate me. I wish cross save was a thing, because then I would easily be like, oh, I'll just move over and do my Spider-Man stuff and then bring it back over. I do it in Genshin. I did it on Destiny for the longest time. Like, I would just go play on PlayStation and then come back, Give me cross save it. That's all I want.
Right. I get it if the PlayStation people are able to just play Spider-Man. Like, Sony paid the big bucks. But I don't want to have to go level an entire new set of characters for that. That's the part that gets me the most.
It's also like the main issue, and we talked about this a lot when this was first announced. At least I did. This channel didn't exist back then, but
we did on the other channel.
Yeah, but it's like, and they've already said this a couple times. Is like Spider-Man's not going to be a part of the narrative, like all of the other heroes that will be introduced in this game will be. Specifically, he's coming with a new hero event, which I guarantee you is just going to be maybe one cutscene where a character goes up to him and is like, "Oh, hey, Spider-Man," and then he won't ever say anything aside from like little quips that no one reacts to because he's a ghost. Like, he's not supposed to be there because he's only there on PlayStation. He's never going to be important. We're never going to get to see him really interact with anyone because they're not going to put time into developing story and like story moments for a character that only a third of the player base can see.
Which I find hilarious that he's in the raid image swinging in like.
Yeah. He's not there.
But it's funny that you say that because if you look at how far apart each of those heroes are, they could easily remove any of them. And the composition for this shot is Hulk, Cap, and Black Widow. Spider-Man's like up far enough that when they promote this exact same image for PC, yank.
He's not there.
Yeah.
I just also like, I don't even know, because there's no reason. Okay, to be clear, anyone who thinks the reason for this is that Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man, they don't. So don't, like, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 was a Nintendo Switch exclusive, and he's in that. Like, that's not the reason. He's in all of the Lego Marvel games, and those are on everything.
No, they don't own the rights to it. They're just paying a shit ton of money.
Right. Sony paid Crystal Dynamics a buttload of money to put Spider-Man into the game. Not to make him exclusive, to put him into the game. Yep. I don't think Crystal Dynamics wanted Spider-Man in this game. But Sony was like, do it. And they're like, okay.
I could see that. There's enough Spider-Man content out there that Crystal Dynamics wanted to corner the market on everything else. Maybe they were like, maybe 4 or 5 years on the road, we'll put Spider-Man in. But
because it's like, also, like, from the get-go, when they first announced this, they were like, no, this is not Insomniac Spider-Man. This is a completely different Spider-Man. And that reads to me now, and like, now that we've been sitting on it for so long, as like, we didn't want to put Spider-Man in our world.
Yeah.
Because there was that Spider-Man, and that Spider-Man's fine. But now we have to, because Sony gave us $1 trillion billion.
Well, honestly, probably they didn't want to put him into there because that Spider-Man game is solid. You're not going to make that Spider-Man.
Right.
You're like,
it's not going to feel as good.
He's not going to, like, you're not going to have a city to swing around in. You're not going to have we're not going to have a situation in which, like, oh, you could swing around the city and you could go punch people, and we're like the areas aren't even open enough to make his swinging like feel good.
Right, because we've seen something like that with Hawkeye. The way he
flying doesn't feel right. It gets the job done, but consider for a moment like how it feels in comparison to what you would want flying to feel like.
Yeah, Spider-Man is a character that is an entire game. You have to build an entire system around the web swinging, otherwise people hate your Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and that is something that Insomniac nailed, and that's just not like a challenge that you want to take on. One of the developers of Avengers, and there's a plane if you can hear it, went on Twitter and said, hey, people who are complaining that our characters don't feel as developed as Insomniac's Spider-Man, or that our Spider-Man isn't going to be as good as that, maybe think about how Insomniac Spider-Man has an entire game dedicated to him, both in gameplay and story, and our game has 9 heroes in it.
Right. You wouldn't expect...
They all feel great. They do. But I'm just saying, the flying doesn't feel like you would expect flying to feel like, and I'm fine with how it does feel, but that's why I don't care about Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Polish. It's not polished. And I don't know how they could release Spider-Man into this game and the traversal system feel polished.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is like Iron Man puts a little drone above his head that he swings off of, which at that point, why doesn't he just have a jetpack and fly like everybody else?
You have to build like an entire system, and they're not going to do that. Like when
it's going to work like the grappling hook from Black Widow, where she just jumps if there's nothing to hook to. That's what it's going to do.
Mm-hmm. And hey, if they do, here's the thing. Like if they were like, okay, Sony paid us to put Spider-Man in this game, we want to do him justice, and they built an entire web swinging system that is similar to Insomniac's, then great. But then they've just spent all of that development time on putting Spider-Man into 1/3 of the player base's hands. Exactly. And now we're sitting over here like, oh, well, we get nothing.
And that's why 2020 had so many issues with
Right.
hitting release dates.
Because they were working on Spider-Man the whole time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The
It's
Spider-Man
like,
situation is just so weird. I really don't get it. I do get it. I just don't understand everyone freaking out about Spider-Man. That's what I don't get. Because he has the whole games dedicated to him. We have Spider-Man 2 coming out. That's why I don't care about him, because I want what I love about this Avengers game is I get to be Black Widow. Name me another game that isn't an app game that I'm Black Widow.
Lego Marvel's Avengers.
Let's not count the Legos games, because those are all
Those
the
games are
comical
great.
version. They are great, but they're the comical
But they're their
version.
own thing.
Name me
Sure.
another game where I'm Kate Bishop. Name me another game where I get to be Thor that wasn't that 2011 crappy PS2 game.
Right.
God of
Name
War
another
clone.
game where you're Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like,
Iron
That's
Man.
what I love about this
The
game.
game.
Because I can tell you right now, they give me Spider-Man a PC, he will probably be my least used character because I've played Spider-Man games before. Like,
right.
Yeah. I mean, I'd play the hell out of a Spider-Man, and I might buy like a dirt cheap version of Avengers on PS5 just to try them out. I'm sure I'll have to for this channel.
I mean, I have it on PS5 and I have leveled characters. I'll jump in and do the story. So
Yeah.
I'll play it.
There won't be a story. You'll jump in and play a few missions with him, get an exotic, and
that's
get the hell out of there.
I mean, I have it on PS5, so I'm not against trying it out. But
I don't know. That's the biggest, like, and there's other stuff on the, but the reason we're harping on Spider-Man so much is because it's like there's two pieces of content on this roadmap.
There's a raid
Spider-Man?
and a Spider-Man.
Yeah. So it's like, what else is there
No,
to say?
hold on. Nameplate challenge. We keep forgetting about the nameplate challenge.
no, you're leaving something out. It's the Disney Plus
Yeah.
Hawkeye nameplate challenge.
You'll get to, you want to be Jeremy Renner? Here you go. Like, how about we put the correct hair on Hawkeye's MCU costume challenge? How about that challenge, maybe?
Earnable
If you're gonna
cosmetics, who knows?
Oh,
And
also,
I also
we
look
can't
across
we
the
can't
bottom.
forget to mention that the long banner under everything that says outfits inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because that's the only thing that is making this game money anymore.
I will say though, I don't give them a hard time about that because this game does need to make money, and if
yeah.
that's the way it's able to fund future content, do it. And hey, those are the ones I'm using, and I think they're the ones
I have
most
them
people
all
are
on.
using too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good, and the reason they're good is because they're just copy pasting the ones from the movies. But I mean, they're well executed, but it's clear that like Crystal Dynamics' art team doesn't know how to make cool skins outside of those, because they all look like train wrecks.
I really want to say, like, argue with you, but I can use 2 Thor skins. I can use 2.
Yeah.
I can't. None of them. Like, I put them on for a minute. The amount of times that I've swapped costumes as a gag. Look at my monochrome Iron Man. Yeah.
They just released this this last week, like a skin where everybody looks like a disco ball, and you want to pay $30 for all of your heroes to look like a disco ball?
I didn't do that.
No, you want to pay $30 for your characters to look badass.
Yeah.
So
I did get all the disco ball outfits. but-
You're the problem.
you're the exception. You're the exception to the rule.
Well, you know what I did get them for though? You know why? Because it'll be my gag outfit I get onto now. Oh, guys, look, ready? Let's disco.
You know what I want to buy? I want to buy a zombie Iron Man skin.
Yeah.
Some people, there's a guy on the subreddit. I'll flash up his name in the mock-ups that he did of a zombie Iron Man and a zombie Captain America skin, and they look fantastic. He just grabbed like screenshots from What If and like pieced it together, and they look so cool. Like that's what I want. Put some time into that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And the MCU skins, that's fine too. I'll take those. But like, stop.
Give me
releasing
the
these
evil Doctor
garbage
Strange skin,
ones.
and also give me Doctor Strange. But
Well, that was going to be a question I was going to pose. Who do you think we're going to get next year? Just wild speculation. Who do you want to see?
Strange. I think Strange is gonna be the next one. I think he'll be the next hero. Because that movie comes out in March. They've already Easter egged him. I think he'll be the next hero that with all of us get to play.
I could see that. I think Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, or Captain Marvel are safe bets.
Dang it, Dylan, you took both of mine. I was going to say
all right,
Wanda,
sorry.
but I was going to say Wanda, but I think Captain Marvel's probably going to come before Wanda does.
Yeah.
I think it just depends on when they want to, because like the two big plot lines that they're building up to right now are Ultron and the Kree invasion. So it depends on when they, like, which one they want to hammer into first, because they've shown, like, with the War for Wakanda thing, that they can just pivot the plot wherever they want, and people will enjoy it. Like, we want to talk about positives. Like, that's a good thing about this game, is that, like, the story, every time they release story, it hits. So they could release either of them in any order. And like case in point, remember back when like Black Panther was supposed to come out a lot sooner, but because Chadwick Boseman passed away, they delayed it a lot. Who knows if it would have been delayed anyway? I feel like it would have. But
I feel like it would have, and that was the excuse
Probably.
they ran with. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to harp on that kind of a thing.
yeah, that's a weird, like, tinfoil hat, probably a little disrespectful theory, but you know, we don't work there, so
That's
we
why
don't
I'm
know.
not going, yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us today for Absolutely PlayStation Esteemed Gamers. Don't forget to check us out frequently as we keep you up to date on what's happening with Marvel's Avengers and every other Marvel game in existence, because now there's like 90. We're doing them all.
40,000 of them.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much. We are PlayStation Esteemed Gamers. I'm Benny. That's Dylan. That's Shank, and we'll see you next time right here.